Hi everybody, welcome back to ArdelleVision, where I, Ardelle, share with you my vision of my life with where I want to go, starting from where I'm at, which is not where I want to be. And I hope to inspire everybody else to find the vision of their life and to get to where they want to go as well, if you know what I mean. And so today is another 10-minute Tuesday talk where I talk for 10 minutes about whatever it is I'm going to talk about and with no editing, fresh, uncut, raw, the real me, the real deal, coming at you from my studio, aka my Toyota Corolla, which I just bought. Super proud. So today's video is going to be about none other than obviously ADHD and anxiety, including parentheses, social anxiety. So I don't know why people with ADHD have a lot of anxiety. I hate it. I have my reason. I don't know the science behind it, I guess is the best way I should put this. But I feel like there are obvious reasons looking back and realizing that I had ADHD, that I always have anxiety. It just goes in it coincides with the symptoms of ADHD, like always being forgetful, being late, being unorganized, being prone to substance use because of your anxiety. You want to circumvent the anxiety, but it ends up causing more anxiety. So I just upon reflection of why it is I think that I have anxiety is social anxiety especially is due to the symptoms of having ADHD. So wow, get to the point. Being in social settings and being forgetful is horrifying, especially if you can't remember people's names, which I'm terrible at remembering people's names, even if it's John, even if it's like my sister's name that somebody else happens to have, like things that should just be so easy to remember. And you ask them their name again, you try to be gracious about it, and then immediately you forget it again. It is so embarrassing. Or if you're in a social setting and you think of something funny and just spontaneously, as we ADHDers do, shout out something and start talking and you have a really good point. And when you kind of have that like, oh my God, everybody's staring at me moment, and there's like 7 people like waiting for the punchline of your story, and then you can't remember it because you're like, oh my God, I'm remembering, and then it makes you forget, and then everybody's looking at you and you kind of can't remember, and you have to say in front of like a bunch of people or even one person that you're like, oh my gosh, I don't remember the point of my story. And then you have to ask them, and sometimes they help you, sometimes they can't, and it ruins the whole punchline, or it ruins the whole aha moment of whatever it is that you were in the middle of sharing. Or maybe you're always late to something and you're always having to explain yourself, or you kind of feel embarrassed in the middle of a conversation that you cut someone off, and then why did I cut them off to point out that random thing when they're in the middle of like telling me something super important? It just makes you want to be introverted because you don't want to have those socially awkward moments, and you regret sharing, and you think back, and you're anxiety ridden, you're over worrying about like, should I have said that? Or for me, for example, which was a big like shining a light on my forgetfulness, was the anxiety that I get with my job is that I'm so forgetful with administrative tasks that I accidentally scheduled somebody at my office on a day that nobody was even going to be there, and they showed up, and I couldn't even believe I did that. It just brought to a head how forgetful I am, truly. And so for me, it's been interesting to work on myself and my ADHD. I'm so thankful for my diagnosis. I can't even emphasize enough. Like, it's been such a gift. I hated it at first. I was like, why me? I don't want to be this way, but I am this way. So it is what I have. For me personally, I do not want to take medication. I've shared this in the past. I had been on medication without even knowing I was on I had been on medication without knowing I had ADHD, without knowing that I had ADHD. And it kind of made me feel crazy. It's interesting because I was like, what if I knew that I had ADHD? Would I have thought that it made me feel better? But I did not like the way I felt. I was on antidepressants because I feel like with ADHD, you kind of go in these vicious cyclical cycles of, I don't know if that's repetitive, of trying to do things and then failing, so then you get depressed. So it's very repetitive. So I think you get in spells of depression, not necessarily being depressed. So I was on antidepressants thinking I maybe was depressed, and I was prescribed Adderall at the same time. And I did not like the way it made me feel, and I'm very freaked out about taking medication, and I know that some people it works wonders for. So like, super happy for those people that found that answer. For me, my answer to try to help my ADHD anxiety is to eat healthier. I had said in the past that I feel like you totally are what you eat, as cliche as that sounds. But I just recently shared last week that I'm going keto, and I absolutely love it. It is completely it's given me confidence, for one. So I'm like, the fact that I've been on it for so long and I have like no desire to quit, I I feel like I keep saying like. I feel like I'm like totally like talking like a teenager, like, if you know what I like mean, totally like. But it really has given me an internal confidence that I'm finally not quitting something, and I don't have a desire to quit anytime soon, because my whole goal is to correct the way my brain functions, and the ketones on the ketosis diet are what fuels my brain. And I feel like I've had so much more mental clarity than I've ever had in my past. I have a lot of recall ability, so I can reflect back on a conversation. If somebody's like, wait, what was that guy's name? Or what did we talk about the other day? Or where was I in my conversation? Like, I can totally recall it. I don't cut people off because I'm able to, like, you know, I still have old symptoms of having ADHD, which I still do have, but in the middle of a conversation, I can recheck myself to stay present. And I love it. And so going keto has been a big answer for me, and it's definitely giving me more energy. It's giving me a boost in confidence. It's giving me something to talk about. Let's give them something to talk about. A little keto to figure out. Okay. But with that said, another thing that I do to help with my ADHD, and I know this might sound off the, like, not off the wall, but just cliche, or it's like a typical, like, banalities for me to just throw out, is to kind of reflect and meditate every day. Maybe start a journal, a gratitude journal is something that I've read that people should do. So it kind of makes you more grateful for what you have instead of beating yourself up for what you don't have, mentally and literally. And just keep yourself in line every day to kind of check in with yourself. Like, why am I really worried about that conversation that I had yesterday? Why am I going to chew on that negatively and just over worry about it? It helps me just let things go. Whether it is I'm meditating or I pray, but meditation, just sitting and humming your way through like 10 minutes just to really ask yourself questions about the way you're feeling and why are you worried about that, and to letting it go. One thing that I looked up, which I absolutely love, which at first was overwhelming to me, but now I just started doing it simply, which is starting a bullet journal. How to ADHD, which is one of my favorite YouTube channels for ADHD. They have amazing videos on bullet journals. They're super easy to create. If you take away the intimidation of how to create them and all the cute washi tape that they have and all the designs and the colorful pens, which I got but don't even use, when you take that away, it really is a simple format. In high school, I was a bad student until I started writing down my assignments that were due. The first semester of freshman year, I was a terrible student. Then I started writing down my assignments. I went from a 1.6 GPA to a 3.6 GPA in a matter of one semester. I knew I wasn't stupid, but I was just not organized mentally and literally. So the bullet journal has helped me really organize my life in so many ways, and it's like oddly fun that I've been able to do it. I knew about it for a month, had bought the journal for $1.99 at Walmart, got a pack of black pens that I love writing with from the Dollar Tree. So it's not really expensive, and it's really been able to keep myself in check, in alignment, and to keep myself organized. And one other thing that I've been trying to do is to push myself out of my comfort zone. I know this is counterintuitive to like getting rid of anxiety, but it's interesting. Just not too long ago, over the past year, I've been telling myself to be social, just make that promise to yourself to not completely like become introverted or hermit-like or reclusive. And so I just kept pushing myself into really awkward situations. And over the past year and a half or so, and I went to an art event at a church I go to, and that night, like all the little blips of little gatherings I had gone to that I didn't think, had created any groundings kind of came together, and it was one of my most favorite nights. I had zero expectations for that night. It was such a bad day that I didn't even want to go, but I was like, I promised myself to go. And so keeping these promises to myself instead of flaking out has really been beneficial. Like the discipline of just keeping promises to yourself has really helped me. And I made super amazing connections to that. And all of a sudden, like all these people that I thought maybe didn't like me because I'm super crazy in certain settings and I'm very socially outgoing at certain times, I think it's maybe too much. It ended up just kind of coming together in such a beautiful, nice little Christmas bow. A beautiful gift of life, of just showing up to your own life and meditating and making sure you're not stressing yourself out because of yourself. and keeping yourself in alignment with a bullet journal, maybe getting on medication that works for you, and also starting keto if you're interested. Check that out for the brain power. But this is another 10-Minute Tuesday talk. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you see, please give it one big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, share with all your friends, and definitely leave a comment in the section below about what are your thoughts on ADHD and anxiety, and if you can relate. You know, I love you, appreciate you, and enjoy ya. Talk to you later. Bye.